What are you talking about? My sister's strictness is a form of love, you know. Really? Fine, then please leave. My name is Eleanor. I have a daughter named Layla, who just started elementary school. I quit my job when she was born, and now I'm a stay-at-home mom. Watching Layla grow every day brings me so much joy. But there's something that's been bothering me. It's my husband, Judas's sister. Monique is 10 years older than us and is a very responsible person. You could even say she has a strict, stoic personality, but she's also a bit too harsh and sarcastic. For example, she doesn't let even small mistakes slide. Monique, can I ask you to buy some groceries? Not flour, but panko, please. Mom, what are you saying? Are you sure it's not flour? Are you sure it's panko? It would be a hassle if you change your mind later. Confirm it now. When we visit my in-laws, this is how she talked to her own mother. And she treats everyone else the same. Eleanor, would you like a snack? We have chocolate and strawberries. Which one do you prefer? I like both, so please choose whichever you'd like, Monique. Why can't you answer my question? Don't you understand what I'm asking? I'm sorry, in that case, I'll have chocolate, please. Good. Next time, answer clearly. I don't like people who are vague. But the truth is, she's not strict with everyone. Monique is particularly hard on women. In contrast, she's always lenient with her brother Judas. Boys will always be mama's boys. It can't be helped. Because of Monique's attitude, I've felt disliked by her since I married Judas. No matter what I do, she finds some petty reason to criticize me. If I don't talk, she says I'm unfriendly and rude. If I talk too much, she says I'm annoying. So I've been avoiding her. But that's becoming increasingly difficult. Because now, Monique's strictness is targeting my daughter Layla. Monique is extremely hard on Layla, who just started first grade. For example, kids her age often have trouble pronouncing words clearly. Sometimes this sounds like sis, or baby sounds like pebby. But Monique gets angry even about that. Speak clearly. Are you trying to act cute? That won't work on me. She also complains if Layla accidentally drops some food during meals, even if it's something small and slippery like a cherry tomato. Can't you eat properly? Kids like you shouldn't be sitting at the table. Why don't you eat on the floor? And she gets angry if Layla raises her voice a little while watching her favorite cartoons. Keep it down. Think about others. Because of this, Layla also seems to be uncomfortable around Monique. Layla doesn't want to see Auntie, she once told me. I considered Layla's feelings and tried to keep some distance from Monique, but Monique would just show up at our house uninvited. Worse, Judas, her own brother, wouldn't stop her. My sister means well. She's strict now, but she really cares about Layla. You know how you end up appreciating strict teachers when you grow up? It's the same thing. But Monique is way too strict. It's not age appropriate for Layla. I feel sorry for her. That's not true. If anything, you're too lenient with Layla. Maybe you should be stricter. Why would you say that? Layla is well behaved and a good kid. Is she? If my sister gets mad at her, she must be doing something really wrong. After all, my sister is an experienced elementary school teacher. Yes, Monique has a long career as an elementary school teacher. That's probably why Judas doesn't question her. But I think that's precisely the problem. Monique works at the same elementary school Layla attends. Fortunately, the school doesn't assign family members as homeroom teachers. So for now, Monique is not Layla's homeroom teacher. Apparently, she's in charge of a 5th grade class. So she shouldn't have any reason to interact with Layla. But that's not how Monique operates. Even at school, if she sees Layla, she scolds her just like she does at home. She'll come from the end of the hallway to yell about trivial things. Yesterday, I was talking with a friend in the hallway. Then Auntie came over and said, "Don't stand side by side in the hallway. It's annoying. Think about others." But we weren't running or anything. We were just talking quietly. There were other kids making more noise. Monique always singles out Layla like this. As a result, Layla has started to dislike going to school. It seems her friends are avoiding her too. I like Layla, but when she's around, that scary teacher comes, so I don't want to be with her at school. Hearing this makes Layla even sadder. At this point, I can't stay silent as a mother. Even if I don't have a teaching license, I'm Layla's biggest supporter. The next time Monique came over, invited by Judas, I confronted her, and she confirmed that what Layla said was true. It can't be helped, can it? Young kids have bad manners. It's a teacher's job to correct that, and you're too overprotective, Eleanor. But Layla told me there were other kids making noise too. Oh, did she? I don't remember. But I have to be strict with family, you know. Way to go, sis. Judas, stay out of this. Monique, isn't this an abuse of authority? Layla is suffering too much. That's not true. I'm a teacher. I'm right. I have to be right. As expected, Monique isn't willing to listen. She even made a threatening comment to Layla. Hey, Layla, did you tattle to mommy? Tattletales are the worst. You'll lose friends, you know. That was the last straw for me. Please leave right now. Your very presence is harmful to Layla. How dare you say something so unnecessary? Calm down, Eleanor. Why are you so indifferent, Judas? Come on. Stop laughing and think seriously. Don't you want to protect Layla? It's not like that, but my sister has a point. Fine, then I don't need a father like that. Let's get a divorce. At my words, Judas laughed as if mocking me. Then he provocatively said, Really? Interesting. You're a stay-at-home mom. Do you know you can't live without money? You can't live on the money in Layla's toy cash register. You can't even buy meat or vegetables. Who do you think you are, mocking me? I'm your husband. If you really want a divorce, bring the papers. I'll sign them right away. Judas probably thinks I can't really go through with a divorce. He said it with a smug face. But I didn't bring up divorce on a whim. I took out the divorce papers from a drawer. All right, will you sign and stamp this? You said you'd divorce me right away, right? Hurry up. What? Wait, this is a joke, right? Why do you have this? I was giving you one last chance. I wanted to see if you would protect Layla from Monique. But if you won't stand up for her, Layla doesn't need a father like that. Let's divorce. What? Wait, I don't want a divorce. Kids need a father. Calm down, Eleanor. How will you manage financially? You're a stay-at-home mom. Monique, please be quiet. I can't. Layla is my niece and a valuable student at our school. Are you planning to make her suffer? Women should obey men. Men are the breadwinners, the heads of households. Shouldn't you respect that? Monique pushing her outdated values and Judas listening contently. I couldn't stand talking to them anymore, so I said this. If you're going to say that, let me clarify. Breadwinner? Head of the household? Those are terms you can use when you're financially supporting the family, right? But this house is in my name. The land too, and most of our savings come from my earnings. This is true. I may be a stay-at-home mom now, but I was a surgeon before giving birth. I worked at a fairly large hospital and earned a lot, even doing surgeries and night shifts. I bought this house in cash from my salary at the time. On the other hand, Judas, who was always spoiled by Monique, has careless personality and only occasionally takes on odd jobs as an adult. Normally, he just lounges around the house, playing video games all day. He doesn't even contribute to the bills, so we've been living off my savings. I kept telling myself, once he goes back to work, we'll start saving again. I used to be attracted to Judas's carefree lifestyle when we were younger, but lately, I've been regretting ever getting married to him. Still, our daughter Layla is attached to Judas, so I thought about avoiding divorce, but you'd choose Monique over Layla and me, wouldn't you? Judas, if that's the case, Layla is more important to me than you are. I don't need you. Get out. No, wait, Eleanor, let's talk this through calmly. Talk? What's there to talk about with you? Who can't think of himself and just does whatever Monique says? You said you'd sign the papers, didn't you? Don't lie to me. Well, Monique, as a teacher, you'd agree that lying is wrong, even for adults and men, right? Yeah, but... Sis! Both Judas and Monique were hesitant about the divorce, but they must have realized there's no going back. After a few hours of resistance, they finally signed and stamped the divorce papers. From now on, let's communicate through lawyers. Layla and I will move to a short-stay apartment for now. I'll give you the lawyer's contact later. I took the divorce papers, grabbed the essentials, and left the house with Layla. I thought Layla would resist more, but she seemed happier to be away from Monique than sad about leaving Judas. She followed me with a big smile on her face. After that, we moved out of the short-stay apartment in a few months and relocated near my parents' home. I didn't get any alimony from Judas, but he did agree to give up any claim to our assets. I still get messages from him, but I ignore them all. If it weren't for Layla's visits, I could completely cut him off. Moving near my parents has helped me create a better environment for raising Layla. Luckily, I was able to return to work at a nearby major hospital. My parents help with the night shifts. I'm truly grateful. The only regret is that I had to transfer Layla to a new school. She had just started to adjust to her old school. But, to my surprise, Layla quickly adapted to her new school. I miss my old friends, but I'm happy that Auntie isn't at this school. I've made new friends and it's really fun. She says this every day, looking happy as she goes to school. She's already made quite a few new friends, so I don't think I need to worry much. The most important thing is that Layla is happy. As for Monique, I've reported her to the school. I've told them about how she treated Layla at home and what Layla has told me about school. And I found out something surprising. Monique was already a problematic teacher, often accused of favoritism. Even in her homeroom class, there were weekly complaints about her. My daughter told me you're only nice to the boys in the class. Why do you send her to the hallway when she forgets her homework? To the boys, you just say, that's not good, right? Is it true that you only share extra lunch jellies with the boys? I heard you justify it by saying boys are bigger, but aren't girls in upper elementary school often larger? This is clear favoritism. She was a teacher who had been criticized like this from the start. Not just from the parents of the girls, but apparently she had a bad reputation among the parents of the boys as well. We don't want our kids to be overly pampered. Can't you handle this more responsibly as a teacher? My child says it's uncomfortable to see you being strict only with the girls. It's bad for their education, so please change the homeroom teacher. Because she was this kind of teacher, it seems she won't be the homeroom teacher for the 6th grade next year. I heard she's expected to be transferred when the time comes. Of course, life seems tough for Judas too, now that we're divorced and he has no income. He says weird things during our scheduled visits. I can't ask for reconciliation now, but can you financially help me? How about $3,000 a month? Naturally, there's no way I'd agree to that. I plan to reduce the visitation schedule in the future unless Layla wants to see him. Of course, I'll prioritize Layla's feelings, but personally, I'd rather not see Judas if I can avoid it. More than that, I want to cherish my time with Layla. Since I've gone back to work, the time we can spend together has decreased, but I can push through for Layla's sake. I want to be like Mom someday. I want to become a great doctor and help lots of people. So Mom, let's work together someday. Right now, my happiness is being with Layla, who says such heartwarming things. From now on, I'll do whatever it takes to protect these happy days.
My name is Ansley. Just the other day, I went out to the corner store in a totally relaxed outfit, no makeup, a worn-out shirt, and sweatpants. I almost got interviewed for a local food show and was so embarrassed that I ran away. I'm 36 years old. It's true what they say, never forget you're a woman. I vowed to myself to heed the wisdom of the elders. Today, I want to share a story from my past. Please listen up. 10 years ago, I had a fiancé arranged by my parents since I was a child, but it's not what you're thinking. This isn't some noble family situation. Our parents got drunk one night and just decided, hey, let's have our kids marry each other. Sure, sounds good. Can you believe such a casual promise? Well, it happened. We lived in a neighborhood where CEOs and other high-ranking officials resided. Next door was a president, across the street an officer, and diagonally across, a family that owned land. My dad, who owned several bars, hit it out with the president of a pub chain store who lived next door. They decided our families should unite in marriage. This was a tragedy for me. My fiancé Morris, who was the same age as me, had a terrible personality. We even went to the same elementary school, and no, it wasn't a private school, it was a regular public one. We both moved up from preschool with the same group of friends. Morris and I have that same relationship. We were pretty average despite what people might think of a president's daughter or president's son. Both our families were nouveau riche, not old money. I always thought I should be humble in case our family's fortunes change. In short, they lived humbly in fear of downfall. But Morris thought differently. As a preschooler, he would bring popular toys to school to show off, even getting scolded by the teacher. In elementary school, he would say things like, my family is different from yours, my dad's a president. There were other kids with high-ranking parents, so it wasn't a big deal, but Morris wanted to be seen as better. By the time we were older, if a friend said, I want this new video game, Morris would buy it immediately and show it off. But he wouldn't let his friends actually play it. He would also splurge on snacks and magazines for friends just to show off his wealth. I didn't like that about him. Back then, no one really liked Morris. We all thought he was tacky and just went along with him. When we got to junior high, most of the rich kids went to private schools. So did Morris's friends. Morris, who didn't take the entrance exam, found new friends, or rather targets, to show off his lavish lifestyle. They probably thought they were lucky to have a friend who would buy them stuff. But soon, Morris had a group of hangers-on who were just after his money. Day by day, I grew to dislike Morris even more. I preferred spending my after-school hours gathering at someone's house, sharing snacks we each brought from home and just chatting. I think I was a pretty typical junior high school student. I have never been one to chase the latest trends, unlike Morris, who's always flaunting new stuff. I prefer to stick with what I like. Oddly frugal for someone who grew up in a well-off family, if you ask me. Morris and I never really clicked. Every time we crossed paths, he would go off saying, "She's so stingy, she's so stingy." I let him talk, it didn't bother me. To me, Morris was the embarrassing one, flaunting money he didn't even earn as if it were a status symbol. So I made sure to get a recommendation and prepare myself to go to a different high school, one that was more academically rigorous. Morris, on the other hand, tried to get into the same high school as me but failed because he's not academically inclined. He ended up in a local school with a bad reputation. Even in high school, Morris continued to show off his wealth, attracting a crowd of sycophants. I remember spotting him and his entourage at the downtown mall. They were so tacky that I hid to avoid being seen. I wanted nothing to do with Morris. But my younger sister Sophie didn't get the memo. She thought Morris was cool and a bit rebellious, and she admired him. Thanks to that, I've been hearing things like, "You're so lucky to be engaged to him, and I don't get what's so great about you," from Sophie since junior high. I didn't choose Morris. If I had a choice, I would pick the simple, earnest son of a lawyer who was in the class next to mine in junior high. I knew this wasn't going well. Sophie's comments were starting to add a layer of tension between Morris and me. If this kept up, our relationship would turn as sour as a durian. I didn't want my relationship with sweet Sophie to become hostile, so I repeatedly asked my dad, who had arranged the engagement, in a drunken stupor to switch me with Sophie. But Dad brushed it off, saying, "It has to be the eldest son and eldest daughter, or it doesn't make sense." I can't blame Dad for being optimistic. To our parents, Morris is a charming but academically challenged guy. Plus, he's not bad looking, so he's popular with the adults. They don't know he's surrounded by gold diggers. To them, he's a beloved son with CEO potential. They're all so blind. Even if he is a bit rebellious, they think, "He's going to be a CEO, so it's okay for boys to be a little bad." So my concerns were dismissed as teenage angst, and the engagement wasn't called off for minor reasons like personality clashes. The marriage decided over drinks was proving much harder to break. And as I expected, as we grew older, Sophie started saying things like, "If I could marry Morris, my life would be so much more exciting. You're the one who gets all the breaks," and she began to express a pessimistic view of her own life. The night I told Dad I want to choose who I marry and got shut down, he kept pestering me, asking, "What's the problem?" I knew Sophie felt the frustration of being the second child, unable to inherit anything. I would have gladly given her this arranged marriage if I could. Fast forward a few years, and we both graduated from university. Our parents, drinks in hands, joyfully decided, now that they have graduated, let's get them married and give them specialized CEO training. Eventually, they'll merge their businesses, double the income. Before we knew it, Morris and I were being told when we would be getting married. 2 weeks after graduation, a family reunion was held and our wedding date was announced. I was going to marry a man I had secretly blocked on social media in a year. Is there no way out of this? I wondered. That's when it happened. "Let's hold off on this marriage. I got Sophie pregnant," Morris confessed. "I'm sorry, it was me who initiated it, please. Sis, don't blame him," Sophie added, tears in her eyes. It was like a soap opera. Morris and Sophie were both apologizing profusely. Our parents were shocked, but I was secretly thrilled. It's not Sophie's fault, it's all Ansley's fault," Morris continued. "Don't say any more, Morris, you'll make Sis feel bad." Sophie interjected. What are they talking about? I wondered as our parents stared at me in disbelief.
What's going on, Morris?
Both dads asked.
Ansley has been dating other men while engaged to me, multiple men.
Morris claimed.
What?
Our parents looked at me, their faces filled with shock. I was equally stunned. If I hadn't told Sis she could have a boyfriend, this wouldn't have happened, Sophie said.
It's not Sophie's fault. I found out Ansley had boyfriends and sought comfort from Sophie. It's my fault for being weak.
Morris added. No, it's because I fell for Morris, Sophie said, as they held hands. I sensed the atmosphere turning against me. Morris tried hard for Sis. He gave her gifts on her birthday and tried to communicate. Sophie continued. The birthday gift. I remember getting one from him in junior high. A used, crumpled tissue.
She's so stingy. You can wash and reuse this,
he had said. Is that what you call communication? But I have seen Sis walking with boys downtown and kissing near our house multiple times. I didn't know what to do, Sophie said. That was you, Morris. I know you dated multiple people in junior high, but it was too late. Our parents were glaring at me, their faces red with anger. They had already decided I was that kind of person. They arranged this marriage and now they're angry that their daughter, though I didn't, had boyfriends and lived freely. They never bothered to ask how I felt or what I thought. I felt a chill settling in my heart. Was I really about to marry for the sake of a family that didn't even believe in me? Sophie's plea came like a final blow. Please, Sis, give me Morris. We'll work hard to support the family. My parents, looking sympathetically at Sophie, turned to me. Why did you betray Morris, Ansley?
You used to be such a good kid.
I could argue, but what's the point? I saw no value in clinging to this family. Ironically, my parents' words pushed me to make a decision. Fine, take it all. I'm leaving this house. Let Sophie have Morris at the future CEO position, and I have no regrets. I'll disappear from this house right away. And I meant it. The family was messed up from the start, arranging marriages without considering their children's feelings. I knew they meant no harm, but that made it even worse. I cared about Sophie, but I couldn't stay in a home where I was falsely accused. Leaving would give me the freedom I longed for. I was sure that leaving this house would be the start of my second life. The moment I said I was leaving, my parents tried desperately to stop me. Too late. I took the CEO training they had given me and left. For a while, I stayed with friends and in internet cafes, eventually finding work at a bar with a dormitory. The cocktail making skills I had learned as part of my CEO training came in handy. I quickly found a job and over time built relationships with regular customers. A year later, a turning point came. I ended up marrying a regular customer, Tyron, who was 2 years older than me. But he wasn't just any customer. Tyron was the son of the president of a major pub chain and was effectively running the business as vice president. His chain was on a different scale compared to Morris's family business. If Morris's family is a chain with a few local stores, Tyron's is a chain that operates throughout the United States. Tyron said,
It would be great to open a chain store bar in the future or turn a corner of a pub into a bar.
One of the bars I worked at was one of the bars I visited while studying for my future studies. It seems so. Tyron was impressed with my cocktail making skills, and that led to dating and eventually marriage. About a year into our marriage, I got a call from an old classmate from junior high. Do you know what's happening with your family? I had no idea. During the time when I was afraid of being taken back, I had gathered some information. After hearing through a friend that Sophie and Morris were getting married and deciding that they had no intention of taking me back, I stopped thinking about my parents' home. According to her, both my families and Morris's businesses gone bankrupt. The downfall started with Morris's family. It seems that the store run by Morris's dad was unable to keep up with the economic downturn and the popularity of competitors, and the store continued to be in the red. Unable to keep up with the competitors and the recessions, they sought financial help and collaboration from my family. Since Sophie and Morris were married, my family agreed, but the aid was just a drop in the bucket. In the end, neither family could find a way out of their financial troubles. They both continued to accumulate debt until they collapsed together. My family had a few bars, but we weren't a major chain. It was only natural that we wouldn't support another company. Even Tyron didn't know about my dad's business. If it weren't for the family ties, we would have helped them. In other words, Morris's family must have been in dire straits to seek help only from relatives. My family's downfall was due to our alliance with Morris's family. Maybe it was karma. I felt a sense of relief. But the story didn't end there. Sophie and Morris, who were supposed to join their respective family businesses, ended up jobless due to the bankruptcy. They tried to find jobs and even did some part-time work, but they had no prior work experience. They couldn't hold down a decent job. I had received CEO training from my parents, but Sophie had suddenly found herself in a position to inherit a failing business. She probably hadn't received proper training. As for Morris, he hadn't received any training at all. They weren't the type to follow orders. As expected, they ignored instructions at work, argued back, and eventually got fired. Desperate, Morris's parents used their old connections to find them a job. Now they're both working part-time at a pub, and guess what? It's one of Tyron's pub. Needless to say, I couldn't help but smirk. Later, Tyron and I went to inspect the pub where Sophie and Morris were working. Just to be clear, I didn't go see it just because Sophie was there. Either way, I was planning on going on an inspection trip for some reason. We were greeted by the manager. "Welcome to the pub. Oh, the vice president and his wife. Good evening." Tyron responded, "Good evening." And we headed toward the back. One of the staff members looked surprised and said, "Ansley?" Sophie, who was in the back, also reacted, "Sis?" The other staff members were puzzled. Do you know them?" I chose not to answer and just smiled. After all, I have cut ties with them. We're here for an inspection. We have been receiving numerous complaints about this location," Tyron announced, causing a stir among the staff. Whispers of the "we should fire them" and "but it's nepotism, right?" could be heard. Tyron continued, "Slow service, warm beer, ignoring customers. These complaints are endless. We can't overlook such poor customer service." He scanned the room with a stern look. A far cry from the man who cuddles Disney plush toys at home with a big smile. I almost smiled at the contrast but held it in. "Additionally, the manager has reported discrepancies in the cash register for some time now," Tyron added. I noticed Morris and Sophie looking down, visibly trembling at the corner of my eye. "If anyone comes forward now, we won't involve the police, but if you try to hide it, we'll take appropriate action. Speak now if you're responsible," I said. Morris and Sophie looked down even more, avoiding eye contact. No one came forward. "Fine. We have actually had security cameras installed since we received the reports. Let's watch the footage," Tyron said. He pulled out a laptop with the last 3 months of security footage and hit play. There were Morris and Sophie taking money from the cash register about every 3 weeks. They probably thought they wouldn't get caught if they didn't do it every day and took turns. But they should have been more careful, especially since they were a couple working at the same place. The manager had already suspected them but couldn't prove it, which is why it reached Tyron, the vice president. However, they should have given more consideration to the fact that they joined the store at the same time and were a couple. In fact, the manager consulted his boss and said, "These two people are probably doing it, but we can't find any proof." And even the vice president Tyron heard about it. What a foolish pair. I thought, if these two had become CEOs, both our families would have gone under anyway. Oh, I am so glad I didn't marry Morris.
"No, you're wrong. We didn't do anything. Believe me, sis, we're sisters by blood,"
Sophie yelled. I don't consider someone who framed me, lied about being pregnant, and spread rumors about me to be my sister, I retorted. The staff murmured. Sophie turned pale and Morris shouted, "What?" Only Tyron, who knew everything, was holding back laughter. "So you weren't really pregnant. Ashley told me she heard it from her sister," I said. Ashley was a junior high classmate who informed me about my family situation. Her sister was good friends with Sophie. Apparently, the kid told Ashley. She said Sophie lied about being pregnant to break off my engagement, I continued. Sophie had indeed lied about being pregnant to tarnish my reputation. Well, I didn't want to marry Morris anyway, and my life turned out better. So all's well that ends well.
So all those tears about miscarriage and saying Ansley had a boyfriend were all lies?
Morris asked Sophie.
I had to. You didn't seem interested in me, Morris. I had to get your attention somehow.
Sophie defended. Morris looked like he was about to hit her.
You have got to be kidding me. I liked Ansley. If you weren't pregnant, I wouldn't have called off the engagement.
Yeah, I knew that. I never liked Morris and I thought our personalities clashed. But in Morris's mind, being mean was a form of affection, an extension of teasing the one you love. My parents knew this and saw Morris as charming while Sophie, who liked Morris, hated me. So the reason I kept avoiding Morris was that I didn't like him. The more I avoided him, the worse his tendency to be mean to the one he liked got. So it's probably true that Morris was shocked when he heard the lie that I had a boyfriend. Anyway, you two seem to be having fun, but you're both fired as of today. The police are on their way, so just follow their instructions, I said. They cried and yelled, but I moved on without paying them any attention.
Wait, Ansley, I love you.
Sis, please, not the police.
Both of them were pleading, clinging to my feet. No matter how much you say you loved me, I was never interested in a man who believed Sophie's lies without even checking with me. And as for you, Sophie, you're not my sister. Stay away. I'm happily married now. Just serve your time, I said. Realizing they had no way out, they both hung their heads. A smattering of applause rose from the staff. Later, both received a 1-year prison sentence due to the large sum they had stolen. Tyron shared their information as potential thieves with major affiliated companies. There were many companies that have ties to Tyron's company. With Tyron's extensive network, it became virtually impossible for them to work in the food and beverage industry. According to rumors, they're struggling to find jobs because they can't explain why they left their last job. Well, you can't say, I'm looking for a new job because I was fired and have a criminal record. On top of that, they got divorced because of Sophie's lies. Sophie was also kicked out of her family home. Well, that's natural. As for me, my parents, who now knew everything, apologized and asked me to come back home. I ignored them. My house is no longer that house. It's the one I shared with Tyron. I've cleared my name, and that's all that matters. Now, Tyron and I have a daughter. She's a playful child who says she wants to build a happy home like her parents. Tyron became the president of the company and even achieved his dream of expanding the chain of bars across America. As for the bar, I have been overseeing it since the first location, creating menus and training staff. Thanks to that, business is booming, even outperforming the pub. Tyron jokingly says, I'm scared you'll take over as president. Wouldn't that be nice? I reply, and our home continues to live in peace. Despite all that's happened, I'm incredibly happy to have a family I can trust.